Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next episode where we are looking at all the rolling stock used by the train operating companies since privatisation. Today we will be continuing the Thameslink story by looking at First Capital Connect, a part of First Group which ran the Thameslink franchise between 2006 and 2014. In preparation for the Thameslink 2000 project, the Great Northern services from London's King's Cross and Moorgate to Cambridge and Peterborough were also included in this franchise. If you haven't done so already, then please check out our previous videos in the series. Links are appearing now. Also, if you like what you see here and you're new to the channel, then please like and subscribe. All your support goes a long way for the channel and more importantly supports the Brockwell Park Miniature Railway. I'd like to thank our patrons as well, as their support has helped the railway through these recent tough times. So without further delay, let's get going. Before we start, let's take a look at what the Thameslink 2000 project was and why it was so important. Just known as the Thameslink programme by the time First Group took over, it was a £6 billion project to improve and expand Thameslink services throughout the southeast of England. This included new and longer rolling stock, longer platforms to accommodate them, a complete rebuild of key stations, new railway infrastructure to improve reliability and to introduce new services and destinations. The project was split into three main stages known as key outputs, and I'm just going to summarise them here. Key Output 0 saw the closure of the Moorgate branch along with the start of the Blackfriars station remodelling. The original King's Cross St Pancras station was closed in 2007 with new platforms built further north closer to St Pancras opening the same year. The introduction of services to Sevenoaks occurred and Class 3775s were subleased from Southern to help meet the capacity requirements. Key Output 1, which was completed by mid-2012, saw the introduction of 12-car trains between Bedford and Brighton. The completion of Blackfriars Station as well as a lot of preparation work for the next Key Output stage. That also included a new viaduct over Borough Market, which wouldn't see track or trains until the start of 2016. Finally, Key Output 2, which was completed in September 2020, saw the complete rebuild of London Bridge Station, a new grade separated junction in Bermondsey, a new tunnel was constructed north of St Pancras to link the Thameslink core to the East Coast Main Line, and we saw the introduction of the Class 700s. There were many smaller projects and improvements that also linked to the Thameslink project throughout the southeast, which I suspect would require its own video to go into any further details. Needless to say that First Group would operate the franchise throughout most of the project, along with the inevitable disruption that it caused, culminating with the loss of the franchise to Govia in 2014 before the work was completed.
From platform A to B 1105, Southern service to Caterham. Travel in the front 4 coaches for New Cross Gate, Brockley, Honour Park.
Now back to the trains. First Capital Connect inherited the entire 319 fleet from Thameslink as well as 4 units from Southern in 2009. In the previous video I had failed to mention that not all of the 3190s had been renumbered and that a few kept their 0 subclass. These units were 319001 through to 319003 and 319005 through to 319013. The Class 319 fleet would see a refurbishment by 2010 which included the application of the dark blue and magenta livery of First Group, which was eventually nicknamed the Urban Light livery. Units 319, 364 and 319, 365 began promoting the pre-mentioned Project Thameslink with this colourful livery, the project that we now know that First Group will fail to see finished. There was also an experiment to outfit two 319s in base colours which differed from the usual first group livery. 319-001 received an all-over white livery with royal blue doors, whilst 319-010 was treated to an all-over blue livery with yellow doors. Unit 319-215 is seen here covering up its former Southern livery with an advert for holidays in Switzerland in 2014. The 319 fleet would remain with First Capital Connect until they lost the franchise to go via Thameslink Railway in 2014. First Capital Connect began operating the Class 377s after they were subleased from Southern around 2009 and 2010. These were needed to boost capacity after there were delays in the procurement of new rolling stock for the Thameslink programme. The 3775s allowed First Capital Connect to start running 12-car trains between Bedford and Brighton. When Go via Thameslink Railway took over the franchise in 2014, the Class 377s were eventually transferred away after the arrival of the Class 700s, with most going to South Eastern. Moving on to the Great Northern section of the First Capital Connect franchise, the Class 313s were built by British Rail Engineering Limited between 1976 and 1977. First Capital Connect inherited 41 3130 units from West Anglia Great Northern for use on the inner suburban services out of Moorgate and London King's Cross to Welwyn Garden City, Hertford North, Stevenage and Letchworth Garden City. A further 3 Class 3131s were transferred from London Overground in 2010. They operated as dual voltage units with 750 volts DC third rail operation on the Northern City Line branch between Moorgate and Drayton Park, whilst elsewhere on the network they ran off the 25 kV AC overhead wires. The 313s had continued to remain in service when Go via Thameslink took over in 2014, but as of today all bar 313121 have been scrapped. If you wish to experience a ride on a 313, then they continue to operate for Southern on the south coast and in Liverpool around Merseyside. But be quick, their future is uncertain. First Capital Connect operated 12 Class 3171s after inheriting them from West Anglia Great Northern. They ran fast and semi-fast services between London's King's Cross, Peterborough and Cambridge. These were built between 1981 and 1982, and when they were acquired by First Capital Connect, they only received a minor refresh and livery change. Two former Stansted Express Class 317-7s were also used by First Capital Connect to provide cover for the Class 365s undergoing refurbishment. These were withdrawn at the end of the franchise. First Capital Connect operated 13 Class 3214s which were acquired from London Midland in December 2010. They were overhauled by Walbtech's Doncaster Works. They also had the First Capital Connect livery applied, in which they continued in service with FCC, eventually passing to go via Thameslink Railway in 2014. The 3214s were the second batch of units built in 1988 for use on the East Coast and West Coast main lines, although eventually they were all delivered for use on the latter. In total, 41 units of Class 365s were built between 1994 and 1995 by ABB at Holgate Road Carriage Works. The fleet was split, with 16 heading off to Connex Southeastern and the remaining 25 transferring to Hornsey TMD for use on the East Coast Main Line. First Capital Connect acquired all remaining 40 Class 365s from West Anglia Great Northern. This included the 16 from Connex Southeastern, which transferred to West Anglia Great Northern in 2004. Unfortunately, 365-526 was written off after its involvement in the Potters Bar rail crash in 2002. The Class 365s received the first Capital Connect livery and operated fast and semi-fast routes from London's King's Cross to Peterborough and Cambridge. All 40 units carried on in service when Govia Thameslink Railway took over, but were finally withdrawn in May 2021, going into storage. Their fate is currently unknown. First Capital Connect also had an 03 diesel shunter, 03179 Clive, which was the last mainline registered 03 on the network. As this shunter once worked on the Isle of Wight, it had a cut down cab so that it will fit within the loading gauge of Ryde Tunnel. 03179 can now be found preserved on the Rushden, Higham and Wellingborough Railway in East Northamptonshire. Well, this wraps up this video. The Thameslink story will conclude with the Thameslink section of the Govia Thameslink Railway, coming soon. Please like and subscribe to the channel, it goes a long way to helping out the Bognor Park Miniature Railway, and I look forward to seeing your comments. Many thanks and goodbye.